Hello and welcome to our monthly eFIXX College Connection stream. Now, we used to say live in there, didn't we, Marcus?
We did, and we're actually still live, but we're only live in the comments, answering your questions throughout the entire premiere.
However, it's comments that we do want, whether they be live or whether they be after the event, please make sure you leave them, because it can drive other live streams as well. We're down today at Derby College. What a beautiful building. But there was a building very close to the college you wanted your photograph taken.
There was, and it really is for my wife at home. She's a massive Forest fan, so I decided to get a picture in front of Pride Park, Gary.
Okay, and talking of Forest fans, I think we came down Brian Clough's way, and you did a fantastic impression of Brian Clough. And if you stay onto the stream, hopefully at some point Marcus will reveal that impression. You can work out whether you think it's any good. Again, comments if it's any good on that impression as well. Now, this stream is going to be looking at trying to unpack some of those qualifications. It can be tricky when you turn up at college maybe for the first time.
Definitely, yeah.
And you try and say, well, what level do I need? What's the awarding body? The two awarding bodies being, Marcus?
We mainly have City Guilds and EAL, and we're sort of going to diverse into that a little bit, aren't we, on the difference between the two?
Yeah, okay, we can see the difference and the sort of course numbers and whether you may be coming in the evening, maybe you're trying to retrain. We're going to bring your course up as well that you did.
Yeah, we always talk about my course and the way when we introduce ourselves, which we will do shortly, on how it differs from other routes, and we're going to talk into that a little bit more, so hopefully it can benefit people in the future using that course. And
also got an update on Eric's route. We've done it in the last two streams. I actually had got Ollie reached out to me, who works not for, because he's self-employed as an apprenticeship, and he's going to talk us through with a special segment on his own on how he's built his own apprenticeship and how he's paying for things like his portfolio, his MVQ and his AM2. Yeah, so hold on for that one as well. Now, we've got to thank some great people that allow us to do these live streams. I've got them written on the piece of paper here. Are you going to try and remember them?
I've got them up here.
Okay, so who would you like to thank for allowing the support?
Wago.
Yes.
Wallbox, Schneider Electric, the Lasico Group. I've got to get the hand in there, haven't I? TIS, Matrel, Marshall Tufflex, Doncaster Cables, C-Norm, Robust, Ledvance, and Ludum Palazzoli.
Well, you've done really well.
I did a few there,
did a few without looking. They should have come along, come along the bottom as well, if he's missed any out as well. So that's what the live stream, when we say live, we're live in the comments. It's all about this time. We're also going to get a chance to talk to Ash, because one of the qualifications that's causing big, I don't know, uproar, disruption, confusion maybe in the electrical industry, in the FE world, is T Levels. So we're going to try and unpack that a little bit for you as well. And it might be that you're watching this stream maybe a year on and T Levels are even more in focus at that stage.
And please add your comments now to what sort of courses you did as electricians, what your course codes were, and we'll look at how they maybe differ now, because you might be thinking about taking apprenticeships on or people for work experience, and you want to familiarise yourself with what the courses are now, so it's not I'm just looking for City and Guilds. You actually might recognise different qualifications that lead to the same place.
Okay, so leave the qualification you did. Was it City and Guilds, EAL or equivalent? And what the number associated with everyone's pretty 2, 3, 6 parts 1 and 2 and things like that. Please leave those in the comments as well. So we're going to jump in first of all to those qualifications. So we're going to have a look at those first. Okay, let's start first of all by looking at the awarding bodies. The two obvious ones are obviously C&G, City and Guilds. And then we've got EAL, and that stands for?
Excellence and learning, I believe.
Yeah, okay, we've not completely confirmed that. That's what we've believed the entire time we delivered an EAL course. If we're wrong, again, a golden opportunity to say in the comments, Gaz, well, actually, Marcus got it wrong, we'll say that one. So we've got those two, so surely I want to do City and Guilds.
Well, it's one of them common misconceptions, isn't it? And before I went into education, I was all very much, well, City and Guilds, City and Guilds. You hear it all the time. Have you got your City and Guilds? Have you got your City and Guilds?
Yes.
And I think you made to a film earlier, was it Eddie the Eagle?
Yes.
We said my dad wanted me to get my City and Guilds in plastering.
He did, yeah. And it was quite strong in the, my dad wants me to get my City and Guilds. Yeah. And that's an historic thing, isn't it?
Yeah, it is, yeah.
But we're actually looking for levels, aren't we?
We are, yeah. So they come in different levels, 1, 2 and 3 normally. And that's the same across EAL and City and Guilds.
Absolutely.
The level 1s, again, the level 2s, the level 3s, they're very, very similar in terms of their course content. They cover the same sort of modules, because most of it, and you'll know yourself, they actually bridge into each other. So you can do an EAL and transfer to a City and Guilds because you've done the material which is equivalent to the City and Guilds and vice versa.
So first thing we'd like to say, if you're going to college for the first time, maybe as an apprentice, you're looking at your qualification, or you're looking at your qualification when you're going in as maybe full-time or even an adult, do not be put off if it says EAL. Any more than don't rejoice just because it says City and Guilds. Both qualifications have exactly the same merit. However, we may know a little bit more about City and Guilds because of legacy. Okay, we taught both over the years, okay, is what we did. Now let's go first of all for the apprentices. What level will you be studying at as an apprentice?
So as an apprentice, an electrical apprentice, you'll be studying at level 3.
Okay, so that seems quite a big jump, especially when you think about maybe a full-time learner could come in at a lower level. What level could they come in at?
They could come in at level 1.
Okay, so there's a big difference there. there. So there's often a requirement for the apprentice to come in with a set of GCSEs.
Yes.
Okay, now if you haven't got those GCSEs and you're lucky enough to be taken on into an apprenticeship, you will need to up your maths and English, won't you?
Yeah, so you'll have to take what they call, normally they do it in what we call a block week. So you'll come in for maybe a week in the summer where you'll have a maths tutor along with a few others, and you will do your maths that way.
Okay, so we're going in for the apprenticeship. Let's say it's the City and Guilds one. It's the 5357.
It is, yeah.
It gets tweaked as it goes along. It's been tweaked recently to incorporate maybe a little bit more of an overview of renewable technologies, solar.
As the industry is moving forward, they're just trying to sort of bleed it in a little bit, aren't they? Rather than giving it a whole unit where maybe people might struggle with it. Even teaching staff would probably struggle with that. They're just trying to sort of introduce it slowly so you get a feel for terminology and processes.
Absolutely. You could be doing the EAL equivalent of that, but the one we keep seeing, and we're going to stick with it at the minute, is the 5357 City and Guilds for our apprenticeship route. How many years will I probably be sitting in the classroom of my apprenticeship?
So, again, this can be confusing sometimes, but it's normally going to be 3 years, and then you'll get a follow-up year to complete your portfolio side of it. So 3 years is generally where all of your underpinning knowledge, okay, in the classroom is going to be done with your, what you would call day release, or some people might be on a block program,
Okay, and then obviously the completing the portfolio is what people will often call an MVQ. However, if you're doing an apprenticeship standards, it's just a portfolio within the standards.
It is now,
and not a standalone MVQ.
Yeah, and then once you get all of that, they go to what they call the gateway now, rather than before it was the framework, wasn't it, of the MVQ.
So you hit the gateway. The gateway for the apprenticeship means we have to do an end skills test. And if we've gone through that traditional route, is it AM2S for that one?
Yeah, so if you've gone through the 5357, which most people will be on now, you will be looking at the AM2S. However, there are other AM2s for different routes into industry. You can still do an MVQ. We spoke about that on the last stream with what Eric's probably going to be taking up. And we've got somebody today who's gone a similar route to that. You could also do an evening learner course, can't you, where you go and do the AM2E.
Yeah, so that would be Ollie's route. He's going to build his own, so he's going to do an MVQ, and we'll talk about it later, and an AM2. So subtle differences there. But that's the 5357 routes, possibly about a 4-year window if you timely complete. Now, all the things we've mentioned there have been in our last 2 streams. We did a stream 2 streams ago. We talked about preparing for AM2 and AM2S. I'll leave a link for that in the description. Last time out, oh no, sorry, they'll come back for another one.
Three last 3 streams.
We've done a lot of streams, haven't we? So I'll put that one in. That was actually 3 streams ago. 2 streams ago, we actually went to Northampton College and looked at being set on as an apprentice and went through that process. So they all link nicely into the 5357. Now that's the fortunate people, isn't it? They've left maybe education and they've gone and got themselves an apprenticeship of whatever age, and we discussed that as well. But there's people that maybe don't know whether they want to be an electrician, want a little try before they buy, or maybe they weren't lucky enough to get an apprenticeship straight from school. Might be down to sometimes age. 16, sometimes it can be quite tough.
Sometimes it's quite a young age to take someone on who's 16 because they haven't got any what we would class as life experience.
Absolutely.
Whereas maybe we would like someone with even a year in, right, they've clipped some cables, they've learnt a bit of terminology, they've been able to go out with their mates a bit further than the park now because they're not at school, they're a big boy college now. So,
And that goes for male, for female, whoever's going to be doing that apprenticeship. I know often we use male orientating terms, and we will do a stream at some point where we look at inclusivity in the electrical industry and how important that is. I'm going to save that maybe for the back end of the year. So you're coming into this, you want to get into the electrical industry. I think personally it's a great opportunity to work out first of all whether you want to be an electrician. So I come to college, it could be, you said a level 1, could I do a level 2?
You could do a level 2. So depending, again, it depends on the college, and it's always important to speak to the local provider on what they think is best for you. But normally what they will do is if you've achieved a certain level of grades in your GCSE, they might put you straight on a level 2. Sometimes maybe you don't have the GCSEs, which is not a problem, but you might have to start on level 1 to gain them basic skills and do your GCSEs alongside. Some colleges will even allow you to still do a level 2 as long as you're completing them GCSEs alongside that level 2.
Okay, so again, do not be put off if they say to you you're doing a level 1 course. Now, I found this quite difficult teaching for 19 years when we introduced a level 1 course, and then I quickly realised it's the practical skills people from school possibly haven't got. There's no more woodwork or pottery or welding studios at these colleges. It tends to be more just the academic stuff. So again, practical skills can be limited. So if you're being offered a level 1, regardless of your GCSEs, maybe you're in the 6s and 7s, take it as a fantastic opportunity to build the practical skills throughout that year. And so we could be in at level 1 or level 2, okay? Would you say at that stage, okay, is it an EAL or a City and Guilds? They're going to be calling it a level 2 and level 1 diploma at EAL. Now, when we get to City and Guilds, there's a couple of 3 choices now, isn't
Yeah,
there?
they're slightly different. So for the level 1,
Yep.
it looks like you have the 7202.
Okay.
Okay, and then when you move it up to the level 2, you're looking at the 8202.
Okay.
And I think it's -20, is it?
It is, -20 for level 2 and -30 for level 3.
Yeah.
Oh, so you can see everyone's angst when they go
Yeah,
there.
yeah.
And we've spoke to the learners here, and hopefully we're going to interview one of those today.
Yeah.
They couldn't exactly tell us what qualification they were on. We had the words MVQ level 2 at one point.
yeah.
I don't think that exists anymore. Okay, so so everyone's a little bit unsure of what they're doing. So for me, I'd be focusing on the level.
Yeah.
So I'm either doing an apprenticeship, and I understand it's at level 3, so that means it's going to be quite tough, doesn't it, really? Or I'm doing a level 1, maybe it's a diploma or the 7202, or I'm doing a level 2 diploma or the 8202.
-20, yeah.
Now I'm watching this as an adult, and I turn up at an adult, and I then don't see that qualification, but I see level 2. What could I be doing in the evenings, maybe?
So again, you could be doing a level 2 diploma if you're doing EAL in the evenings, because they sort of standardise across all the levels. They try and keep it as simple in terms like that. Or if you're going to do a City and Guilds qual, you're probably going to still be looking at the 2365.
Okay, and you could do a 2365 as a full-time learner coming into college.
Yeah.
We feel your pain already,
There's
don't
so
we?
many.
Yes. Just for me, as I said before, concentrate on the level you're entering at. Level 1, level 2, or apprenticeships level 3. It's very unlikely at the minute, but we're going to come back to it in a little while, that you could enter at level 3 straight from school. But when we speak to Ash, she's going to try, and it's going to be a difficult process, unpack something called T Levels. So you might be going to college at the minute and thinking, well, Gary and Marcus, you've said all these qualifications, but I'm here in T Levels, and we'll bring Ash in from Derby College to go through that with us. Then we've got things like the additional qualifications, like the one you did. Now, we've said before that you took a different route into the electrical industry. What was your first year at college?
So my first year was actually an EAL level 2 diploma. So,
Okay.
so again, equivalent to the full-time course, but it was what we, or colleges or service providers, will call a progression course. It doesn't give you any, what's the word I'm looking for? I need Joe here. Qualms, is that a word?
Qualms, I like it.
Didn't give me any qualms to go and work in industry on my own, to certify work, to inspect or test anything. It was a progression route to learn underpinning knowledge. Luckily, I had a good teacher, basically taught us a lot more than we needed to know. But yeah, we started on that route there for the first year.
So it could be you're doing an evening course, you're doing the 2365 level 2. That's a similar route, exactly the same, because you've heard level 2. So you've locked it in, you've heard level 2, whether it be the 8202 level 2. Now, we didn't just jump you onto the equivalent level 3 course, which we could have done. We could have sent you to a level 3 course, but the problem with just doing a straight, and I call it a straight, in other words, go to college, do a level 2 and a level 3, because you couldn't then go and practice as an electrician. And you came to me, along with a class full of people, saying you wanted to be electricians. And did I tell you at any point during the course you were going to be an electrician?
No.
What did I tell you you were going to be?
A domestic installer.
We did, because that's what we offered you. Now, you've got to be really truthful with people at college, and I do find that some people, when they go to college, they sort of clap their hands and they say, we're all going to be electricians.
Yeah.
And especially on an evening programme. Now, that is not true, is it?
No.
Because how do you become an electrician? What will you need to gather to be an electrician?
You will have to undertake a portfolio of evidence.
Yep.
But it's almost a package. You will have to undertake your AM2.
Yep.
Whether that's the AM2, the AM2S, or the AM2E,
Yep.
you have to have all of them to get a gold card which says the word, I'm an electrician.
Okay, so when you came to me, I gave you the level 2 in year 1, and I gave you a level 3 split over 2 years.
Yes.
Now, often, for people going back at night, they can get a level 3 done in 18 months or 1 year.
Yeah.
But we did it over 2 years, and what was the name of the course we did?
I'm going to try and remember this now.
Well, I've got it here.
The level 3 certificate in installing, testing and ensuring compliance of electrical installations within dwellings.
Right, okay, so that's a lot there. Now, they did an EAL and a City and Guilds version
And
of
they
that.
are like for like.
They are, yeah.
They are literally, the criteria are side by side.
Absolutely.
like
So,
for like.
wouldn't matter which one you did the EAL one.
You did the EAL,
Okay,
yeah.
but why did I make you do that qualification?
Because it gave us an opportunity to go into industry and actually practice as an electrician.
Yep.
So it got us on what you would call the first step into industry.
Yep.
Basically meaning that NAPIT or the NIC, we could sign up with them as well to become domestic installers.
Okay, so I'd just like to stop for the people that are taking that adult route. Your college will offer you a course that not necessarily you want, okay? But you've gone along and said, I want a level 2 first year and a level 3 in the second year because I want to be Marcus. I want to go and work for myself, like you do, installing installations within dwellings, okay? However, if I go and get a straight level 2 and level 3, and I've left my college, can I go and apply for NAPIT and the NIC?
So again, the problem is now, and like you touched on it, the colleges are not necessarily offering what you need to get into industry. You're in a job and you say, I want to be an electrician.
Yep.
Okay, whether you mean domestic installer or the terms alike,
Yep.
you want to practice in the electrical industry. You might think to yourself, well, I just need level 2 and level 3, which when I training was actually the case. I could get a level 3
Yes.
and I could go and sign up with the NIC as long as I had my regs course, my BS 7671, 18th edition, or is it 17th edition then? Yeah,
That's
back
how
in the
old
day.
you are.
Yeah. I can say that now. It's not like I've not been doing it 5 minutes anymore. But you would think that you could. The problem is, last September, they actually changed their goalposts, and now all the competent person schemes, okay, it's like a collective thing, they require a certain course, and now a full-time equivalent level 3, so a 2365 level 3, an 8202 level 3, or a level 3 diploma with EAL, you cannot go and buy yourself a van and tools, register with NAPIT and the NIC. I'm not saying you can't do work in the electrical industry. I'm saying you can't go and ultimately sign off your own work because they do not include a competency-based part of the qualification.
Okay, and that's a really good point. And for the people who get to that part of the video, it might be one of those moments where you just need to sit and think. You're in control of your own qualification as an adult. If you want to be Marcus and work in domestic dwellings, go back to NAPIT and NIC and confirm it. Go on their website, you'll find this qualification, and they'll say to you, no, you need this as a minimum. What you're currently doing at college doesn't meet our requirements. And either get your college to provide the course you need or find a business that does, maybe a private training provider.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
Because you're ultimately after the right conclusion for yourself, and they're offering you courses they're very happy to deliver. Okay.
And this is important as well, that this course isn't on. We throw around the term domestic installer, don't we? And people straight away jump on the 6-week bandwagon. This is not a course that takes 6 weeks. This is a 2-year course that takes an incredible portfolio and has some incredibly hard testing and inspection exams because it's the minimum requirement to show you are competent to undertake your own safe work in a domestic dwelling. Doesn't mean you can't go on to, like myself, you mentioned me in domestic dwellings, I work in commercial and industrial. So you go on to get other qualifications and experience in
and you get full scope then.
Of course,
once you're in one of these bodies, NAPIT, NIC, Stroma, etc. You can obviously up your, once you get the type of work, but the getting in the door requires that course. Now, full-time learners, this has all gone beyond them. They're just thinking about that first step on the road to an apprenticeship. When do you believe your absolute best opportunity would be to get an apprenticeship, having left school and started a course?
I think you're level 2.
Okay, and that's usually year 1?
Yeah, usually year 1 or year 2. Like you said, generally year 1, but towards the end of that, where you've gained the terminology, you've understood what the tools are, you've got a little bit of practical skills, you're excited about the industry, you then go to an employer and they can see all of this, rather than, I don't know what an electrician does, but I just need a job, my mum and dad have told me. You've gone and said, right, I love what I'm doing at college, but I want to take it further into the work. I want to be in the, again, we use these terms all the time, don't we? I find myself, as a teacher, I used to say, I hate using this term, but now I'm the biggest user of it, the real world.
Okay, so what I'd say there to you is, and we've done bits in the last stream, now I'm getting them in the right order. The last one we looked at the CV, we're leaving the CV on the counter and having a really bulletproof CV with all those additional certificates. We can leave a link to the eFIXX Apprentice Hub where we've got our CPDs. Okay, so in less than an hour you can add a certificate on different things like RCDs, EV and all the rest of it. So you're trying to build, during possibly that level 2 course, you're trying to build an absolutely robust CV that oozes, I want to be an electrician. Now, we spoke to some of the learners before we came in here. Did we feel their CVs were very powerful?
No.
We didn't.
It's the honest answer.
And the short one.
I'm never very honest.
Absolutely no.
Nope.
Okay, so they'd come to college for 12 hours. What else did they have on their CV?
Work hard and game.
I like gaming.
And that was your CV.
So again, just think to yourself, if you were employing you, does your CV say, and we've said it in other ones, we've done this, we're going to mention it again, work experience. Have you got hundreds of hours of work experience on your CV? Have you got additional certificates that we can provide by the eFIXX Apprentice Hub, link in the description? Have you got all of this in your CV? Have you got photographs? Have you got an Instagram page which is purely about being an apprentice? All stuff we talked about on other streams. should be what you're looking to get during that level 2 course.
Yeah.
Because otherwise it becomes a little bit like a conveyor belt. Maybe like when you do your GCSEs. How many years does it take to do a GCSE?
Oh, is it 4, 5?
I think it's 3 or 2.
Oh, is it?
Yeah, so your kids aren't old enough. So my kids do their GCSEs over 3 years.
Well, I started in year 7, finished in year 11.
Yeah, that's when you went to school, mate. Yeah.
No.
So so when you come to college and they say you can do a level 1, a level 2, and a level 3, what does that sort of sound like to you when you've left school?
What do you mean?
It sounds to me like that's year 1 of the GCSEs,
Oh,
year 2
okay,
of the GCSEs.
yeah,
and I've got this lovely long conveyor belt that I can sit on because I can get 3 years here. And how many hours do you come to college for in a full-time course?
It's usually only around 12 hours a week, so probably 2.5 days, depending on how the college has set it up. It's going to be maybe 2 full days and a half a day, isn't it?
12 hours. That sounds like 1 day to me at eFIXX. So you come to college only for 12 hours. Doesn't that give you a lot of time to make that CV look awesome?
Oh, doesn't it just? And especially now, you start looking into the courses in terms of what we have here and the different codes and stuff. You can leverage your CV in that way. So your employer recognises you understand the course you're on and also can understand the course you're on to make sure it maps into their business.
Yeah, absolutely. I like that. It's a really good point. So because we've said it for so long that work experience is important, when we taught, obviously work experience was so vitally important as well. This leads us nicely on to really where the qualifications are trying to go. And now we're not convinced this is the historic learner that turns up, whether it be he, she or they, turns up at college and they want to train to be an apprentice. They didn't get an apprenticeship. What sort of GCSEs are they sort of possibly in the regions of?
Probably 4s, aren't they?
Yeah, 3s and 4s. So you're properly like I was. You know, Mr. Average I was. Okay, when you turned up, you get a bunch of 4s. And maybe, you decide that you want to go to college and try out to be an electrician. It's great. You get a level 2 course. You understand where that is in the system. You understand your apprenticeship's at level 3. But as we move forward, they've started throwing this T levels at you, and it's got a whiff of being...
Scares me a little bit because, well, I suppose we've been out of education long enough now for it to scare us a little bit, and we don't really understand it because we've not been able to sit down and go through it. Whereas the other courses we would have to write plans for, and you'd have to understand a little bit of what they was talking about. But I was sort of right on the edge where they were starting to talk about it, and it sort of not scared me as such, but it worried me then in terms of what it actually meant. So
what we're going to do is going to bring Ash in, who's the curriculum leader here at Derby College, and he's been on the training for these T levels. Now we think we're probably a fraction early, so as you're watching this, you're likely to be going on the qualifications we've just described. But of course, this video will live for longer, hopefully, on YouTube. You might have jumped into it, and T levels might be the real buzzword. However, if that is the case, just check because we think it will get tweaked moving forward. But let's catch up with Ash and see what these T levels are all about.
And by all means, when Ash and Gary are talking, leave comments, especially the electricians, on what you think of these T levels and how it might affect you as an employer, whether you think it suits you or not. I haven't quite made my mind up yet, so I'll be watching for them ones, really.
So I've dragged Ash out of his busy workshop. He's banging and crashing the other side because people are busy working away on their assessments.
Yes, they are.
However, I'm thinking about future qualifications and maybe this T level that's been poking around. If I come to you, Ash, and I want to do a T level, what's my entry requirements going to be?
So it's going to be a 4 in maths and a 4 in English. Okay, English, literature and languages is important as well with that. But yeah, the minimum requirement is 4 in maths, 4 in English.
Okay, now I've been looking at other websites at other colleges, and I've seen it as high as actually 6 qualifications of 4 and above, including maths and English, is their entry requirement. I would suggest maybe you're on the lower end, which is a good thing for people who want to get on. If I get 2 3s, can I not come on?
No, you would have to go down a different route to get your maths or English and then come on to the T-level course.
Okay, so I've got to, hang on a second, I thought trades, and especially FE colleges, having worked in one for 19 years, was the chance for he, she or they to actually maybe not like school as much as maybe they might like a more practical based subject, and they could come and get themselves a trade. Now I'm not suggesting ever that people that have got no qualifications can really make a success of the electrical industry, but all of a sudden, if I do not get 2 4s, I'm not on.
It is and it isn't true. This is where it gets really confusing. So the expectation for us would be then to go and do like a multi-skills course where you'll do a bit of electrical, bit of plumbing, bit of plastering, bit of brickwork, bit of everything. But that's not always what the student's pathway wants to be. They just want to do electrical. So they enjoy the 6 weeks of electrical, then they don't enjoy the 6 weeks of plumbing, brick and whatnot. So,
absolutely, that's what they should do. They should not enjoy the bricklaying.
Want to be electricians, so...
Now, that's great, but so let's go back another stage. I leave school with, say, a set of 3s. I get 8 3s, and I get myself an apprenticeship. Can I do my apprenticeship?
You can, because then your expectation is then that you'll do functional skills to sit alongside your apprenticeship. Yeah, I can see how confusing that might be.
So hang on, so I can get an apprenticeship. Maybe we're not getting force. I understand I've got to have them. You have to have them. We've mentioned that earlier. And I can get an apprenticeship. There's no barrier to having an apprenticeship, but there is a barrier if I don't get an apprenticeship for doing the T levels.
To not do your to do the T level, yeah.
So that means I must be able to do some of the other courses, the level 1, level 2, or level 3 diplomas. Can I do those at the minute?
You can at the minute, yes, but I think they're coming into a period of defunding in terms of the level 2 and level 3. We currently do the 2365 and 8202. So.
Okay, when you say defunding, that worries me. So there will be a period of time, like we did in the past, where potentially people want to come in the evening, or people that want to come on a full-time electrical course. The courses that they historically think, and we've spoke about earlier, me and Marcus, disappear because they're not funded. I've got two choices then in the worst case scenario. I'll get myself an apprenticeship, which is what we all want to do. Okay, but I can get that with whatever GCSEs I had. Or I come to college, but at that stage, I must have 4s.
Yeah, and that's the grey area around it. So there's not really that gap for full time at the 3 and 4 or the 3 and 3 as you state. So there really needs to be something there to let them students achieve their grades, but sit within our department of electrical, not necessarily go elsewhere and do whatnot. So that's really important that something's built to incorporate those learners that have not got their 4s.
But they're not at the minute. Remember, whenever you're watching this video, to redo your research on these T levels, because I think, personally, they're going to have to come up with a qualification. If I came in the evening, in a couple of years' time, when they've defunded the other courses, there'll be no evening course for me.
Yeah, there's no sort of like course for the guy who wants to work out the back of a van as such. It's going to be all geared up around that high-level learning. So, like, currently doing an evening class 2365 is easy enough to do. But then I think once the T levels come in, you're not going to be able to do a T level course at night, because you're not going to have enough guided learning hours to be able to achieve that in an evening.
Oh, right. This is one of those ones. We're not really going to be able to answer it here. But isn't the T levels not necessarily a T level in to become an electrician? This is a T level in building services?
Yes, so you'll do a core, what I believe is you do a core foundation year 1.
Okay.
So that incorporates sustainability, health and safety, all those things that is generic across the board, across all other trades.
So hang on, whoa, so hang on, I've got a fear now. So I'm an electrical tutor in the days gone past, and I've got people who potentially want to be bricklayers, plasterers, plumbers, and electricians all doing the same core unit.
Same core unit at the start.
That's got a whiff of, that doesn't have to be an electrical biased teacher.
No, and so obviously that's going to reduce numbers within electrical departments.
Yeah, staff numbers.
Unless we take over and deliver the core. But then obviously that's going to and allow colleges to employ teachers just to deliver the core aspect side of it. So
I'd go down the T levels route. I've managed to get through year 1 so hang on, just unpack that. I've just had a minefield of thought there. So if I wanted to be a painter and decorator, I have to get 4s across the board almost.
No, I don't. I don't know the entry requirements.
To get on that T level, you told me with the core unit I needed 4s.
But then I think you've got to select your pathway at the end of that core.
But year 1, you told me to come on year 1, which is the core unit. I've got to have 4. So if I was a plasterer, a bricklayer, a painter and decorator, I'm possibly needing 4s.
Well, that's the confusion around it, isn't it? So do you need to, if you want to be painting decorator, and you've got your 2s, you still do the same core unit as the electrical student who's got their 4s, but can you not then select the pathway because you haven't got the right grades? How's that going to work? That's really confusing.
Oh, okay. So this is one coming for us. They're trialling it everywhere. More and more colleges are running it through this year. But we've got all the other qualifications we've discussed that are still live. So we haven't dropped any of those off. We start dropping qualifications off in which year?
So I believe when we went to see Sitting Guilds the other day, it's going to drop off 24, 25, level 2.
The level 2 first or the level 3? Level 2 first.
Sorry, level 3 first.
Yeah, I thought it was level 3 first.
And then 25, 26 is going to be the level 2 is going to drop off.
For people who in FE, especially for college lecturers watching this, they'll already going through the panic. We did the same back in my day. We had the 2330, and that was going to drop off and only be the Sitting Guilds 5357, which we've mentioned earlier. That meant there was no full-time courses and no evenings, and then they actually brought out the 2365, level 2 and level 3, which we mentioned earlier on the Guilds version, EAL level 2 and level 3 diplomas. So do you think we're treading in that uneasy water now where they've made a decision to go down what I think is more of an academic route with building services? So I do a T-level over 2 years. There's a huge amount of work experience in there. There's a huge amount of core knowledge as well as electrical knowledge. That's really setting me up. Isn't it worth 3 A-levels?
Yes, yeah, and
So
it
that
carries UCAS points as
So
well.
I can go to university. So it sounds a lot like, and I'm going to get this wrong because is it in France they had the baccalaureate, or is that the word, where they had this more academic route when you left school and went to college. It wasn't the college route we've got, and it was all about getting higher education. Now it sounds like they've got some sort of version of that coming in with the T-levels, which is great. But if I do a building services T-level and I get enough qualifications that I could do a degree because they're the equivalent of 3 A-levels, from my experience, without being disrespectful, and that usually means you're going to be disrespectful, I'm not, that doesn't sound like any of the people that I trained with when we were electricians.
Yeah.
We wanted to be electricians, and this sounds like it's a route to university. How do I get in the roof space and in the cherry picker doing this way?
And that's the key thing around the T-level. It's all going to be for the higher level student, not necessarily for the student who's going to want to eventually be a one-man band sort of in his van, working out the back of a van. I don't see it being that sort of course at the moment from what we've seen already. It's geared up towards that high-level designer sort of type.
So it's
electrician.
An apprenticeship or a T-levels or nothing. They've got to change that.
There's got to be something that's going to be more hands-on sort of approach for the students.
Okay, I'll do a T-level. So I'm going to. I don't even know if you know the answers. I'm going to do a T-level. I'm going to get both years. For some reason, I've got tons of GCSEs. I didn't realise I'd got at 4s and 5s. I've done this. I've enjoyed it, and now I want to go and do my apprenticeship. I've got an apprenticeship at the end of it. I didn't go off and get a degree. Will it RPL? Is it APL now they call it?
APL, yeah.
Will it APL in?
Yeah, everything APL's over from the T-level to your apprenticeship.
How many years have I then into my apprenticeship effectively by getting a T-level?
Yeah, so once you've done the T-level, I think that the expectation is that you've done the college aspect of your qualification.
In 2 years, good.
Yeah, in 2 years. And then you'll just got the MVQ side, which is incorporating your AM2, your sort of teaching, like off-the-job sort of training that you'll have to log and evidence still.
Okay, so that's the good news I would suggest.
That's good, yeah.
So by doing a very intensive, high-level number of hours T-level, so we're not doing 12 hours a week here like we currently are on some of these courses. We've got a lot more hours in, but actually it's bought me my core knowledge for my apprenticeship.
Yep.
There might be a bridging unit, there always is, but let's say there's something in there, but nothing. Maybe we have to do the regs course or something like that. So we come across and I've got it into my apprenticeship. I've actually not wasted any time.
No.
I've still probably only got 2 years to complete.
Yeah, that's right.
That's the good news in this. Okay, so we'd love your feedback. Okay, are you currently a college lecturer? Are you currently putting yourself through a T-levels, or are you thinking about doing T-levels? You've done your own research and you equally think it's maybe not for you or is for you. Please leave those comments, and me and Marcus will attempt, and maybe Ash will jump in there on the video as well, to try and answer some of these things. But we expect this to evolve over the next 18 months, don't we?
Yeah, definitely. We've already set some foundations towards T-level. We're actively talking to our apprenticeships so that we can offer employers a student 5 days a week. So the apprentice guys will come with us for 4 days. The T-level student goes with them for 1 day. So when the apprentice comes to us, we send the T-level student the other way. So we are actively trying to build T-level stuff already, which obviously is a big job for a lot of colleges. And when we went the other day to meet the other Sitting Guilds guys, there's other colleges there. Some colleges are already doing T-levels. Yeah. They're already having like guinea pig trials of like 5 students, which I think is going well. But they were giving us feedback on the sort of issues that we're all having with it.
And talking of the number of hours you have to do in work placement and do a T-level, give me that number.
450.
450 hours.
Yeah.
Okay, so that comes back to what me and Marcus have said on many of our live streams, that whatever course you're doing without an apprenticeship, you should be doing hundreds of hours of work experience. And it seems that the T-levels have taken mine and Marcus's great idea about the number of hours of work experience, and they've embedded 450 over 2 years, which is about what we were expecting. When I finished teaching, I was expecting my learners to do 200 hours of work experience. So I like the fact that obviously that work experience thing's in there. And we keep saying it, the great thing about work experience is you work out that you don't want to do it. Yeah. Hopefully you do want to do it, but if you work out you don't want to do it, you can then get another course. Ash, I'm sure we're going to come back to this at some point.
Yeah, been great.
Thanks for your time.
Thank you very much. Cheers, thank you.
Well, I've been here 2.5 hours. It's the first beverage we've got. We had nothing to eat yet.
Voice education, a reminder of education, isn't it?
Yeah, walk around, nothing to eat or drink all day long, running around like an absolute buffoon. Now, buffoon, I wouldn't suggest that the T-levels fall in the buffoon category, but I felt like one a little bit after that, because My passion when I taught was the people that came through on a full-time course.
Yeah.
And the ones that needed that opportunity that school didn't offer them. It's great when you got an apprenticeship because you've got the leverage of the employer and all the rest of it. What's your thinking on the T levels?
Oh, it's a bit much, I think, personally. Yeah, I like the work experience idea.
Yeah, we do.
I love the way that they've incorporated work experience into a qualification like that as a mandatory thing.
Yeah.
I know they've sort of done it with the 8202 and that, where you have to get a certain number of hours. I think it's about 20.
Yeah.
But yeah, I love the way they've done that because ultimately that is what leads to good relationships with employers, which leads to apprenticeships, which leads, to a perfect world for everybody.
Okay.
However, I'm a little bit concerned about the end goal, maybe in terms of an apprentice. So I want to be an electrician when I leave school. I'll go to do a T level.
Yeah, and your mindset might change then. Of course, you're thinking, oh, this is worth 3 A levels.
Yeah.
Maybe I don't want to be an electrician with 3 A levels. That's not a criteria to get one or not get one. But, sometimes that mind can change because you're doing this building services. Maybe your work experience has been a little bit more office-based maybe than on-site. So, but my concern is the people like yourself that changed their career, who came to college, allegedly. That's never going to be an option now unless you get an apprenticeship.
No, that's it, isn't it? And it sort of kills the industry a little bit, I think.
Yeah.
To some extent, doesn't it?
So I would say that will change. So we're waiting to hear that there must be some sort of course that we're going to have to wait for that. And remember, as you're watching this video, as it goes out live and within the first maybe 18 months of it, all the qualifications we've discussed are available for you to do. That's great. It's when you're watching this historically, we expect that T levels to be in full flow, but there might be another qualification similar to a 2, 3, 5, 6 sitting guilds level 2, level 3, or diploma level 2, level 3, maybe to also be available for adults retraining, etc.
And any electricians watching this, naturally you've just heard that it's 450 hours of work experience.
Absolutely.
If you've got people who want to be electricians, maybe it's a good idea to go to your local college and say, look, I can take someone 1 day a week, somebody who's on the electrical path, not necessarily the plumbing, and help out your college that way. Try and give them the best opportunity for this qualification is going to be hard for every college to implement.
Yeah.
So if you can take a bit of stress off the teachers that way, and they need connections with the outside industry as well, be big for them.
Yeah, so it's a couple of things. Yeah, have you got the ability to take somebody for a day a week? Great. Yeah. Or you've got an apprentice that goes to college, and could you take someone in to replace that day? That's just an easy conversation with your local college to help these people who've got to get 450 hours of work experience, which is massive, isn't it? And I wouldn't suggest all of that work experience, if it's a building services one, can be necessarily with a jobbing electrician. I would imagine you have to do some other stuff as well, isn't it?
Yeah, but I think that might be a slight issue because I think somebody who maybe wants to be an electrician can't find the work experience and they get put on with someone else in building services and they're actually a work experience job, not implementing themselves, not getting themselves a good reference because they don't want to do it. So it's almost like I kind of think that, and think back to education, we used to say you don't need work experience at the local shop. You don't need. You need work experience with an electrician. Your training, your idea is you want to be an electrician. Unless you're going into building services and it'd benefit you that way. You could do work experience with a couple of different people. But I think that's going to be a bit of an issue personally on the underside of it.
We expect lots of comments in that section. We understand the video is quite long as well, and there's lots of us just talking, etc. And we're just going to talk to somebody else. Who are we going to speak to next?
So we're going to speak to a couple of learners on their journey, aren't we?
Okay, so let's catch up with a learner from this college in Derby College, and then we're going to go over to Ollie, who's obviously done that apprenticeship, a different route, which is going to be very similar to where Eric completes his.
It is, yeah. Cheers.
First drink.
Yeah.
I'm hanging. So dry.
So I'm here with a learner from Derby College. Would you like to introduce yourself?
My name's Jonny Wilson. I'm a student at Derby College. I'm studying the level 2 Sitting Guilds 2365.
Oh, there you go. Oh, you've answered my next question, yeah?
Yep.
So you're obviously, have you come here straight from school, or is this your second year, etc.?
Year 12, yeah. This is straight from school.
This is straight from school. So when you left school, you said, I want to be in the god of the industry. I want to be an electrician.
Top of the ranks.
Is that what you said?
Yeah.
Okay, so you're doing a level 2, okay, and you're doing your endpoint assessment now, aren't you? So where we've talked about these courses, he's doing a 2365. They have practical exams to them. You're undertaking that. Have you got any theory to do?
I've passed all my theory exams.
Passed all your theories, good. Congratulations, well done. But you're now on your practical. So you must be moving into the realms now of getting an apprenticeship. Is that right?
Yes.
Have you got an apprenticeship? You're going to tell me now you've got an apprenticeship?
No.
So why? Is my question.
I've not reached out enough. Okay. I've asked my dad because he knows a few people.
Yeah.
I've asked around college. I've applied to Derby Homes.
Okay.
I don't think I was successful with that one.
Yeah.
But yeah, I'm trying. I'd say.
Yeah,
Not enough.
But mate, yeah. So
That's right.
you've nailed it on the head there. From my point of view, we've had conversations off camera, haven't we? And for me, maybe you've tried, but not tried quite hard enough, and not tried enough. And you know, not successfully, because you have to take yourself out of the box. Now, what I'm going to do is we'll show you the previous videos we've done on how to find these apprenticeships. Okay, I'm not going to go through the spiel with you now, but there's lots of things you have to do to take yourself out of the box, because how many learners are currently on the other side of that wall to us?
About 10, 15.
About 10, 15. And if they all do the same as you, okay, you're battling against 15 people. Yeah. Whereas if you take the advice we give you and you try hard and you do all of these extra things, you will be you'll be in front of them. Okay, there will not even be a choice when it comes to them applying for the same jobs as you. Now you're transferring your skills, hopefully going into work experience and apprenticeship. But what are you going to be doing next year, do you think?
In my head right now, I'm thinking either the level 3 progression. Or trying something else at college if it turns out it's not for me.
Oh, okay. So,
I was thinking maybe like,
but again, this is why work experience is massively important for you right now. So over the summer, my advice to you is to try and nail on some work experience, because you might be thinking, oh, I'm not sure if it's quite for me. You might go out to work experience and think, I absolutely love this job. That's it. I'm proper invested now. But likewise, you might go out to work experience through the summer and think, you know, I can't lay in a loft like that, you know. And you might want to go and try something else. So that's really important. So you've talked about level 3. So if you go on to an apprenticeship, you'll be doing a level 3 as well, in what we call the 5357. If you're going into full-time, again, it's important to speak to your training providers, and anyone else speak to their training providers, whether you're doing the 8202 or whether you're doing a 2365 for Sitting Guilds, or you're doing a level 3 diploma for EAL. You're currently on Sitting Guilds here, so I imagine they're staying that way. But what an important route for you, if you find out exactly what course you're doing over the summer, you're doing work experience, you're loving it, you go and then research exactly what you need for your next course. What's it going to involve? Ask your tutors now, what I'm going to be doing at level 3, am I going to be clipping a cable to the board? The chances are probably not. You're probably going to need to be looking at inspection and testing and stuff like that,
I've heard.
Design, so it's a lot more academic as opposed to practical, hands-on. Exactly. So the important thing for you really is know where you've come from, know where you currently are, what you want to do, and then how you're going to move forward with that. Yeah? That's my advice to you, and I'll try and help you as much off camera as possible.
Thank you.
Yeah? Lovely to meet you, Johnny.
Nice to meet you.
I'm out on site and I'm joined by Ollie, who works with Pegasus Electrical as his apprentice. Well, we're going to unpack that, because not all of this is actually factually correct, is it?
No, I work as a subcontractor for Eddie.
Right, subcontractor. Now, that must be you're a qualified electrician. You don't look the oldest. How old are you?
20.
So you are still training, but you're self-employed. Is that correct?
Yeah.
Okay, now this is a route that we don't often talk about, and me and Marcus haven't talked about it in the past. We're going to talk about it from now on. So you've taken ownership of your own learning, and now you're taking ownership of your own apprenticeship. Let's go back to that learning process. Did you go to an FE college when you left school?
Yeah, I went to Dudley.
Okay, you went to Dudley College. What was that, 16, 17? Did you do a bit of A-levels first?
A-levels, I started doing A-levels and then didn't really get on with it. So the second year, I started my level 2.
Okay, so when you're saying, so you did AS levels but dropped out effectively, and then you went to college to do your level 2 electrical. Now, that sounds like that's a full-time course, is that right?
Yeah.
How many hours were you going to college for, roughly?
20, 25.
Okay, I think it's more like 12, and
12.
you've probably told your dad it was 25.
Mm.
It's full-time, Dad. I'm there all week. It's about 12 hours. You wouldn't have had to do your maths and English, because I take it you've got above 4s in both, haven't you?
Yep.
Yeah, okay, so you were capable of doing A-levels, and you decided to drop out, and now you're doing a full-time course. The ultimate solution to that full-time course is, in that first year at the level 2, is to get an apprenticeship. And did that happen to you?
No.
Okay, were you a little bit maybe laid back, like you would have been maybe doing your A-levels, that you thought, I've got all year doing a level 2, and what comes after the level 2?
Level 3.
Okay, so I've got all year doing the level 3.
Yeah.
Now, we've met a few times before. Would you suggest you were probably a little bit laid back? Yeah.
Definitely, yeah.
Okay, so you've worked your way through that, and I'd imagine living at home with Dad, at some point you're going to run out of tarmac. So in other words, Dad's going to start saying, college is finishing, what are you doing next? Because you left A-levels to become an electrician, but you only did a level 2 and a level 3 as a full-time learner at Dudley College.
Yeah.
Okay, so I'd suggest at the end of that level 3, you probably started panicking. Is that true?
Definitely.
Okay, so now all of a sudden you've got to find a big wide world job. Obviously, that's where you went and worked for yourself. Is that true?
Yeah, as a labourer.
Sorry, as a labourer?
Yeah.
What, sort of sweeping people's stuff up? And
basically, yeah.
Just humping stuff around? Nothing electrical, really? So Dad said to you, you didn't do your A-levels, you've got this electrical qualification, you're now not being an electrician, you're a labourer. When did your luck change?
Well, it was a struggle to find the work. That's why I didn't get into the electrical game. But then I did. I started doing the modular buildings for apartments, wiring them.
Okay, so when I think modular build, I'm probably thinking of turning up at one installation place, so maybe a factory. Like, and just doing very similar wiring every day from a drawing.
Yeah.
That's not living the dream, is it?
No.
Okay, so that's your foot's in the door of electrical. Probably Dad's a little bit happier now. This isn't leading to an apprenticeship though, is it?
No.
Okay, so when we think about leading to apprenticeship, before we jump on and how you took control of yours, when you were at level 2 at college, how many of those people actually got an apprenticeship in your level 2 course, roughly? 4. So a whole class of say 20, 25 people, 4 people at level 2 got an apprenticeship, which I think is a very good opportunity to get one. Take that opportunity if you can. You've properly laid out, you're going for the level 3. How many people got apprenticeships after level 3?
Level 3, I could name probably 1 or 2.
Right, so people would often think staying on doing the level 3 makes it a greater chance. Often people have been to college long enough to maybe work out that it ain't for them, and they're a little bit too laid back and all the rest of it, and they didn't go on and do it. They just did the 2 years, like GCSEs is 2 years. They end up thinking college is 2 years, they're going to do something different. You're in a tough point now, aren't you? You've got this modular building going on, okay, which you don't think is going to lead maybe to being an apprentice?
No, it's just the fact that there's not a variety of work involved.
Okay, and we come back to variety of work when we talk about an MVQ. So when did your luck change and how did you turn that into what you are now, which is working alongside Eddie but not necessarily directly employed by him?
I got a call off my cousin who works with Eddie's brother.
Right.
Asked if I wanted a hand on the panels.
Right.
And then it started from there on a weekend. Then shortly after that, the modular stuff come to an end. Okay,
were you laid off or was it just...
Yeah, laid off.
Okay, so it's a tough situation, isn't it? Yeah. So let's just unpack that. You've gone to college, you haven't got an apprenticeship, you've gone to labouring, you've been laid off now, modular wiring. The door's slightly opened here with Eddie, so at working weekends, again, that's effectively, you're doing it in your own time, you're working all the time all week and you're working with Eddie at the weekends to get a little bit.
Yeah.
Did the opportunity then open up with Eddie?
Yeah, and then that folded. Eddie offered me to come on full-time.
Okay, so so did he offer you an apprenticeship and a full-time job?
No.
No, okay, so what did he offer you?
To come on as a subcontractor.
Subcontractor. So all of a sudden, we're going to come back and talk to Eddie about this as well. So initially, he wanted you to be a subcontractor. I think that's great because you might find you don't like Eddie. You don't like working with Eddie, and you're in control then, aren't you? You haven't got to go and say to your dad, I've actually, left my job. You're self-employed. You can go and find another person to work with, yeah? So you're working with Eddie, you're self-employed. You haven't completed your training yet, have you? Because you've only done your level 2 and your level 3. What's your mind telling you need to do next?
My MVQ.
Okay, so where did you go in order to get the ability to start that MVQ? Was it back to your local college? Was it Dudley?
No, it's a private company. Okay. Access Training.
All right, Access Training's private company. Now that means there'll be a payment there for you.
Yeah.
How much is that costing you?
It was around 1,300.
Out of your own money?
Yeah.
Okay, so you've taken ownership of your own training. This is slightly different than people that go through the apprenticeship route, which draw down the funding. You've had to pay independently for that MVQ. So you must think it's worthwhile.
Yeah, definitely.
Okay. Do you believe that the scope of work that you do with Eddie will get you enough variety within your MVQ to complete it?
Yeah. Because obviously it's not just this, there's other bits of work that fill in between.
Okay, give us an example of the sort of work you do. Do you do steel conduit?
Yeah.
Trunking?
Yeah.
PVC singles?
Yeah.
Steel or armoured?
Yeah.
Do you do twin and earth cables?
Yeah.
Always called twin and CPC. Okay, so there's a variety of wiring systems there. You probably touch a bit of MICC cable, do you, when you're in churches and stuff like that? You touch some mineral?
Yeah, we pulled some out not so long ago.
You did, because you gave it to a local college.
Yeah.
So I'm ahead of you here. Okay, so there's enough variety there to complete an MVQ, so that's well done to you. If there wasn't, what could you do with being self-employed and obviously trying to complete that MVQ if you didn't get the variety just with Eddie?
Will it give you the flexibility if you get the chance to move around other companies who do different varieties?
Yeah, so if you were told that all of a sudden there was a solar section within your MVQ and you had to install solar panels, you could actually go off and work for a couple of months with a solar team, couldn't you?
Yeah.
You've got that flexibility. Now, it's a massively brave statement to take control. You're 20, yeah? So you've probably got, a year to do an MVQ roughly?
A year, yeah.
Yeah, it's usually just over a year to complete that MVQ. Obviously, the training provider want to get you done as quickly as they can because you're paying, you're a customer, which is a nice place to be in. Does that then mean you're a qualified electrician having completed your MVQ? No, there's more stuff you've got to do. What else you got to do?
Your AM2.
Have you got to pay for that?
Yeah.
Do you know how much that is?
Not off the top of my head.
I think it's between 600 and 800 quid, okay? And if you fail it, you have to pay again.
Pay again, yeah.
Okay, so all of a sudden, by taking ownership of your own learning, it's cost you a few quid, hasn't it? So what is the advantage of you actually doing it this way, maybe than being that traditional apprentice? Or have you not worked that out?
Not about that, no.
No? So you just fell into this, did you?
No, I couldn't find an apprenticeship. No.
So it was either the journey was over or you do it this way, is that agreed?
Yeah, definitely.
I agree with you on that, is that you got to a point, like you said, those level 3 learners at college, maybe 1 or 2 of those level 3 learners actually got an apprenticeship and became electricians, or in the process of becoming electricians. You were going to run out of tarmac or fall off the conveyor belt and actually have nothing. By doing it your way, which is obviously expensive because you've got to pay that money, you're going to be at least £2,000 out of pocket, but you've given the chance and destination is in your hands. Do you agree?
Yeah.
So if you decide, being self-employed, not to get up on a Monday morning, okay, not to go to work with Pegasus Electrical, how does that affect you?
I don't get paid.
Okay, I would say that's the advantage maybe for Eddie, in the fact that if you did decide that you weren't going to come in or you were on holiday, he hasn't got to pay you for that part. So all the risks in your court, isn't it?
Yeah.
If you don't come to work, you don't get paid. Okay, if you don't get the variety of work, you can't complete your MVQ. If you don't get enough skills, you can't complete your AM2. But you've decided, Ollie, to take all of that risk and put it into one ball and go, I'm going to run with this ball and see where it takes me, and hopefully it takes you over the line. I think it will, and I'd be really interested if any of you have now thought about it in this part of the video, that if I did my level 2 and my level 3 and I don't find myself an apprenticeship, which hopefully you would, is the fact you're going to try and maybe what Ollie did there, take it into your own hands, become self-employed and think to yourself, can I build out the rest of the elements of what you've got there? And you could have taken a job as an electrician's mate and done that as well, couldn't you? So if a big site said they were looking for electrician's mate, pay's not as good, but you can still get the evidence for your MVQ, can't you?
Yeah, and I think what a lot of people do look for is experience to actually take you on in the first place.
Right. By doing this, you think you're building yourself experience as well?
Definitely.
Yeah, good. And you're working all up and down the country as well, aren't you? Age 20, you're having to dig away all the time, aren't you? You've got to want to do this, haven't you? Yeah? Okay, so there you go. So there's a little bit of food for thought. Love your comments if this is something that you've considered, hadn't considered, and maybe you would do now. But Ollie's taken it into his own hands in order to complete his apprenticeship. Thank you very much, Ollie.
Thank you.
Well, I think Ollie's given everybody food for thought there, including Eric and yourself, hasn't he?
Yeah, definitely. And I hope Eric watches that and can realise the potential of doing the MVQ, because even he's a little bit unsure in it, but that gives him, a bit more of a firm grasp on what it leads to as such.
Absolutely, and brave.
Yeah.
Totally brave. I said it during that bit with him, to take ownership and your own money. I think you've got a pretty vested interest in getting qualified.
100%, yeah.
And also the bit about being free to, if Eddie sort of didn't have enough work and he needed some more evidence, he could go off being self-employed and work with somebody else.
And that's one of the benefits we spoke to Eric about, isn't it? If I suddenly went off the planet, or we said in the live stream jokingly, I'll go to Australia, it's not out of the question, then he does have options. There's not, I think with the 5357, like we've talked about on the stream, I think if you lose your apprenticeship, I think it's between 8 and 12 weeks you have to find another employer. If you don't, you actually have to start from the beginning with a new employer. So with an MVQ, slightly different, because you can become self-employed, and hopefully that's a bit of an eye-opener to Eric on the benefits of doing it this way.
Absolutely, and we thank Ollie for reaching out to us and obviously wanting to be on there. He was a little bit nervous. He wasn't, obviously bristling away, but the information he gave us was super. Now, it's gone a little bit quiet next door because they're filling some paperwork in, but I've seen them bending plastic and steel conduit.
I have as well,
What have we got in the back of the van that they might be interested in?
We've got some super tube, haven't we?
Okay, so let's go and show the learners here something a little bit different that you don't see at college. Thanks for coming around. Just started that 204 practical assessment, seen the first fix going in, seen people bending plastic conduit, working with steel conduit, you're threading it at the moment. And believe it or not, in front of me I've got a hybrid. I've got something that falls between plastic and steel. Okay, so if we're thinking about a steel conduit system, can you remember how long a piece of steel conduit is? 2 metres. How long do you think a piece of steel conduit is? 3 metres. They've moved it from 3.75 to 3. Okay. But what if I said to you, you could get conduit in a 50-metre reel? Okay. That's what we've got with the super tube here from Marshall Tufflex, which is between plastic and metal. So you've been working with plastic, seen some lovely bends going in there. Okay. And we've got our steel conduit. But this one here, and I'll send it round, is actually a conduit system which is a hybrid of the two. It's got an aluminium foil, effectively in here, solid foil, okay, not like what you see on your FP200. This is a lot more rigid, okay, and we've got a couple of layers of insulation as well between it. So we've got an outside and an inner layer as well. So super tube. This comes on a 50-metre reel. We curled it by hand to this shape. However, if you want to put bends in it, you have to use a specialist tool, much like a plumber's bending tool for their pipe. okay? But you can do that quite simply. So do you want to feel the weight of that, Jonny, and send it round for me? So if you look here, this is the super tube. You can see the aluminium in there, that solid tube, okay? As I squeeze it, I can't actually crush it with my hands, as you see the aluminium tube in there. So it's not like when we work with FP200, not something you could squash. Pretty light though, isn't it? Does anyone think they could carry 50 metres of steel conduit? 53 metre lengths? No, it'd be impossible, wouldn't it? Okay, it also comes in a coil, which means you can carry it up a staircase. Okay, and you can install that. Anyone installed this at college? Where would you end up installing this? Maybe out there in industry where mechanical protection isn't needed to be as high as steel conduit. So where we got a steel conduit system, there might be damage to the fabric of the building and therefore the conduit system. It's not as low as plastic conduit. What sort of environments do we tend to use plastic conduit in? Yeah, well done, great answer. So in offices, don't we? You often see a white conduit in there, normally painted magnolia as well. But obviously if we want a little bit higher resistance to impact, you could use this super tube from Marshall Tufflex. I'm going to leave this here. Okay, so hopefully your college lecturers can let you have a little look at it, but don't try and bend it. You will not be able to bend it from hand. You can straighten it as it comes off its coil. It's a big coil, but you need a specialist piece of kit to put a 90-degree bend in it. And I've done a video on that, and I will leave a link for it in the description. It's about an 8-minute video where me and Gordon go through the whole system of installing the super tube from Marshall Tufflex. Thank you very much for your time. You're free to get on with your 204. So as learners have been off for lunch, they're on their way back now. I'm just going to let you into a little secret. One of us tucked into some cheesy chips and a steak bake. One of us is trying to keep their athletic figure and refrain from eating at lunchtime.
I think there was a cherry coke involved as well.
Okay, so we'd like to thank the great people here at Derby College for allowing us to come in to do this, and we'd like to thank Ash for his insight into the T levels, as well as the learners. Yeah, so that's good. We'd also like to thank who else?
The catering team.
You would, wouldn't you?
Yeah,
what about the sponsors of the show? Maybe we could thank those as well as the catering team.
I was still thinking about the cheesy chips that one of us indulged in, okay?
One of us did, yeah.
So we'd like to thank Wago, Wallbox, Schneider Electric, the Lisico Group, TIS, Matrel, Marshall Tufflex, Doncaster Cables, C-Norm, Robust, Ledvance and Ludum Paladin.
Wow, and without their great support, it would be really difficult for us to get out of colleges. We go to about 11 this year because we're having a month off. We're not going out in July, but we are. Yeah, no, we're not getting rid of you at all, but I am going out in August, and I'm going to do a little bit of a special there. I'm going to Hopwood Hall, which won eFIXX College of the Year, to see the great practice they have there. And in order to do that, I've got a different sidekick this time. I'm going to take College Lecturer of the Year, Chris Horn, with me to be effectively Marcus for the show.
Don't be better than me, Chris.
No,
I'll rely on this.
I'm sure he won't. He won't eat as much as you did of those cheesy tips either. So again, thank you ever so much for everyone who supported this. Thank you very much for the comments. Obviously, we've answered all of them during the live aspect of this, and this is the end of it. However, if you've got to this point and it isn't in the live, please still leave those comments, and we'll try and get back to as many as we can, especially around those T levels and all the questions about those.
They weren't love champions, they weren't good champions under Dom Revy. They can take all of their medals and their caps and their pots and their pans and throw them in the biggest trash bin they can find, because under Dom Revy, they were a dirty team.